All right, welcome to the Overheard podcast, recorded live in Banff. My name is Daniel Rudel. With me always is my co-host.
We got Matty Rage in the new house. Let's go.
The new house, the new setup. I'm digging it. We got the nice wood paneling.
I know it's a little more Banff-ish, Banff-oriented.
1970s Banff, yes.
It's a little vintage. It's a whole vibe in here for
I
sure.
think that house was built in like the 20s or something like that. Crazy.
Yeah, if you went into the basement, it definitely is an old basement.
You can tell by how many times you hit your head.
Yeah, it's a little spooky down there for sure. If it's your first time joining us, please don't forget to give us a little like and subscribe. Lots of people tune into the show, but they don't subscribe. It's very strange. Do us a favor. Give us a little like, subscribe to the YouTube specifically. The bigger numbers we get there, the more guests we can bring you, the more episodes, the more content we will have coming down. So we appreciate it. Quick little bio for our guest today. Our guest is Joe Ruhland, originally from a small village outside of Ottawa called Fitzroy Harbour. Started bartending in the fall of '86 at a local bar in Arnprior, Ontario. Crazy. And then for the next few years, bounced back between bar and management. Arrived in Banff in November '93. That's wild.
No doubt.
November '93.
That was the last year that the Cup was in Canada.
Wild that you know that. Awesome
I just
little
know that
tidbit.
half the people I work with weren't even born yet.
Good point.
I was 3, so to put that into perspective, his first job in Banff was fine dining waiter at Le Beaujolais, which is now extinct restaurant. In 2000, took the position of general manager at the Barbary Coast. 2004 to 2009, GM of the Maple Leaf. 2009, decided to return to the bar because that's what he enjoyed most in the industry. Then off to the Fairmont he went. Spent 9.5 years in the Rundle Lounge, 4.5 years in the Wald House Pub, now 2 years at the Vermilion Room. In that time, he's had articles written about him in Lynx Magazine, New England, Vice Online Magazine in Toronto, now unfortunately defunct Vice Magazine. But,
really?
Yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah, I tried to search it out last night.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, I was reading some articles about that. Like the whole thing went under. Something about them growing too rapidly. Anyways, there was another mentioned a couple times in Avenue magazine out of Calgary, and is also published in the book that we have right in front of us here, Caesar Country. But the recipe is wrong. What's going on with that story?
Well,
Joe?
I was just sitting at home one time, a few years ago, I got a phone call from Penguin Publishing. He said, "Congratulations on your contribution to this book." I said, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And I go, "We'll send you a copy." So he actually sent me 6, which I've subsequently gave away. So we're in Caesar Country, and then I'm looking at the names of the gentlemen, so I Google them, and I recognize them from sitting at my bar and ask questions, things like that, probably more than once. And they're actually the creators of Walter Caesar Mix.
Amazing.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I go through the book and I find my name, Joe Ruhland, Fairmont, Banff Springs. No idea whose recipe it is.
They just grabbed the Caesar recipe and chucked it in there?
And I was just thinking actually last night, 2 years later, because, it takes slow to pick up on things. Maybe I should look through the book and see all the other recipes and see if actually my recipe's in there under somebody else's name. But I've never bothered. It wouldn't make any point anyway, because it's not like I can switch the pages.
True.
Yeah, they're already printed, I guess, at that point. Eh?
Yeah.
Wow, maybe like a lost in translation type of thing.
Way
maybe.
too different.
Yeah, no?
Way too
different.
different.
Yeah.
What's your Caesar recipe, if you don't mind giving it away?
No,
Since-
not also because everybody uses Tabasco, stuff like that, and pickle juice and things like that, or horseradish to make it change. I'm not a huge fan of Tabasco, so I muddle fresh serrano peppers in it. Ooh. But I also muddle cucumber because some serrano peppers can vary in heat, and the cucumbers will dull down the bite from the serranos. And then I put olive brine in it rather than pickle juice to get the salt, and then clamato juice, of course, the standard resident Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah.
Fresh cracked pepper, and I don't rim it with celery salt or white salt. I take Montreal steak spice in a grinder to fine grind it into powder, and I rim it with Montreal steak spice.
Wow.
That sounds good. Now I want a Caesar.
Damn.
We should have had you bring some Caesars. That's what we should have did.
Should have filmed it at the Vermilion between at 3 and 5:30 when they're closed.
I have approached, maybe not the Fairmont specifically, the hotel, but the golf course about doing content down there, and they expressed that they were not interested in having us do content with them at this time.
I mean, fair enough. They're pretty big company. I mean,
if you're out there listening,
I would assume they have
down.
their media pretty regulated.
They do, yeah.
Yeah. I love the Vermilion Room though. As far as
it's
like
awesome.
aesthetic, that dining room is beautiful. You'll see me and my partner Natalie there
Yep.
quite often. And as far as like execution, like
Great whiskey
Everything.
selection too.
execution,
We
fantastic.
went there on a staff party once. I'm looking at the menu and I'm just like, Psh, I know what I'm getting. It's like, yeah, I'll have a Nika from the barrel.
Oh, yeah.
Neat. I'll take a double, please, since I'm not paying for that. Thank you very much. I think I drank like half of that little They're like 500 ml bottles. They're super
Yeah.
small, but I think I drank about half of that before I left. It was good.
And although we haven't expanded much at the Vermilion lately, the Rundle, their options has expanded.
Oh my God.
huge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is a beautiful bar since that
And me
renovation.
being a big fan of rye, they've got a lot of different ryes, both American and Canadian, and I haven't made it through tasting them all yet, but it's coming. It's coming. I'll get
You got to
there.
take your time with the whiskeys. You
Yeah.
can't crush through those like you can the beers at the liquor store. It's
No.
not
Yeah.
quite the same
No,
thing.
it definitely.
If you're buying a variety pack of whiskeys at the liquor store, you probably have an issue.
that was my issue. I'll tell you that for
Oh,
sure. So let's get down to the little interview portion, Joe. What got you working into hospitality, anyways? You said you started in bars and restaurants in Arnprior,
well,
Ontario.
yeah. So I was living outside of Ottawa at the time, going to high school. I just moved into the outskirts of Ottawa. Well, my family had, and I had no decision what I was going to do. Nothing planned. No idea. It was work for my dad's company. Eventually, take over his painting company, which my dad didn't want any of us to do because he said it's a dirty, hard work. And particularly,
enough.
and so they had a career day at the high school at Earl of March, and one of the careers was an executive from the Westin Hotels. And I go, I seem to like that. I think so. So I applied for a hospitality management course at Algonquin College, and then didn't get accepted. Then the first day of grade 13, the guidance counselor came into class because we had grade 13 back then.
OAC. I was the last year for OAC. Let's go.
And then
Yeah, dude.
And then the guidance counselor came in, called me out, and said, Algonquin College called. There's a space opened up in the program, and if you can bring them the money this afternoon, then you're in. So,
Crazy.
and then my dad I paid for it all myself because my dad, he's Dutch. He's cheap by definition. There's a reason there's expression going Dutch. It didn't happen by accident.
Oh no.
And then so I got in and so I had my 2-year course. I had no desire whatsoever to work in the F&B part of it because I was so shy. It was embarrassing. Like I couldn't talk to a girl until I was 17 without stuttering.
Oh, okay.
But then paying for my own school, I got a job in a restaurant right after I finished it because I had to pay off my school loans because I couldn't get grants with the Ontario OSAP
Yeah.
because my dad made too much money, regardless of whether he's paying or not.
Yeah, fair.
Oh,
And then as soon as I started in the restaurant, looking at that bar, I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do. And that's bounced before between bartending and management. Well, I felt I should do management because that's what I went to school for.
right.
But, and I did it for many years. I enjoyed it, loved it. But then 16 years ago, I took a year off management before I found another contract and just never went back. I'm just having too much fun behind the bar.
Nice.
Honestly, I can feel it there. I feel like that is the usual trajectory for a service, especially like a man that's in the service industry. I feel like you started like waiter, server, whatever, or even back of house, and you transition to server, or whatever, and then you end up behind the bar, and then you transition to management, and then you go back to the bar. Right?
Do you remember your first bar shift?
I don't remember the exact first bar shift, but I remember how it started. So I was serving at the Brannigan's in Arnprior. I had first served in their fine dining restaurant upstairs. I had
very cool.
one customer a week. It was a general manager and his wife. They were German. He never tipped me a dime. And then I went down to the pub. And then, so back then, there was no chits coming up at the bar. You had to yell your order to the bartenders.
Right.
And it had to be in a certain order. You know, it had to be bottled beer, highballs, cocktails, wine, and draft. Draft always last because it had a head on it.
Right.
And then there was a girl behind the bar, Barb. And Barb was 5'11" of just pure terror and misery. Beautiful, tall, thin girl. And she would, if you said it wrong, she would yell at you and freak at you and so. And finally, I just asked her one day, I said, "Did you just need to get laid or something? Or what's your problem?" And she laughed. She goes, "It's about time when you guys actually stood up to me." I said, "I don't understand why people are scared of me." I said, "Because you're mean." So right after that, I was on the bar. And of course, back then, there was no night shifts until you were good at day bar.
Yeah.
Right.
And you had to set them up for success because it was a team. You didn't get tipped out by the night bar, but if you wanted to earn your right to be a night bar, you had to set up for everything for the day. And there was another girl behind the bar, Sue Curry. She was scary too. And if you didn't have it set up right, you didn't have it, for some reason, in a small town back in 1986, Singapore slings which were nowhere near Singapore slings,
Yeah,
was a thing. So you made about I'm going to say 40 to 60 liters of pre-mixed sling mix for every Thursday, Friday, and
my
Saturday.
Lord.
And if all that stuff wasn't done, Sue would tear a strip off you.
I bet.
And then so we'd be on the bar. I got it nice, and then that's all they wrote. It was the same girl Barb who I was terrified of. We worked together a lot, and she would make me do the cash out the other night, or make me clean the bar, do the cash out the other night, and she would clean the bar. And then after all those tough girls, she would only take her tips if I tucked them inside of her bra every night.
Oh
Amazing.
my God. Yeah, the Wild West of the old days. Huh?
Yeah, that was the late 1980s. Going to jail for that now.
100%. But a lot of people don't realize that, like, it's kind of lost that aspect of it as far as service industry before. But like, as bartending specifically, I kind of had that on the tail end when I was starting to come up through bartending, and it was almost like an apprenticeship. Like, you didn't get given good shifts, like you said. You had to really kind of earn it and prove that you could do the the behind the scenes work, and then you kind of got a shot. And once you got your shot, like, you know, it was like the performance of a lifetime. You mentioned earlier that the first time you stepped into a restaurant and you saw that bar, you knew that's where it wanted to be. Like, what is it about bartending that you love so much?
Well, so at the time, starting with it, like I said, it was stepped in working there, and then it was the appearance of the rush, because I hadn't started quite yet, right? So, so you would behind the bar, but just to be that busy, you know, that rush, and then you put your head down and just push your way through, keep pumping out the drinks until it was over. And there were some nights, you know, there was no looking up for 3 or 4 hours. You just kept going. Oh, yeah. And it might be strenuous, stressed out, something, you know, unpleasant even at the time. But the high you get off it when you're done and you sit down and go, I just did that.
It's true. Sure. Banff hammers that home pretty good. Like, I worked restaurants for years back home, off and on. And like, you get a rush, but you get a rush out here. That's like a different story, man. Like,
and once you get good at it, it's almost like a dance. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there is a performative aspect to it as well. When you're shaking, you're talking to people, you're taking orders, you're kind of working the whole room at the same time. It's the old. It's not just pouring drinks, as some people might think.
Back of house ballet, we call it.
Yeah, I like it for sure. I remember the one Thursday before Easter in 1987. Yeah, I'm just so dating myself. Yes, I'm almost 60. Wow. I'm in my last year of my 50s.
Damn.
So it was a Thursday night. I told the new general manager, says, yeah, buddy, we got to have at least one more bartender, if not 2 tonight. Isn't Thursday? He said, no, you've done Thursdays all winter by yourself. I said, trust me, it's the first Thursday before Easter. We're going to be sold out. All the kids are home from school.
Yeah.
Wouldn't listen. And I just still remember that. There was nothing I could do. It was just 5, 6 deep at a huge long bar.
That's
and
horrible.
So I just would start at one end and make drinks all the way through. If you popped in right after I finished that spot, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm going through it, and then I come back and I start it, and I just keep going through all. And I remember, doesn't seem like much now, but I sold 2,500 over the bar that night, plus all the drinks for the servers. But you got to keep in mind, you know, shots were like $1.80.
Yeah,
$1.50.
No, sure. Times that by 8, you'd be a little bit more accurate.
And then,
to
of
numbers
course,
today.
shooters were big in the 80s too, but there was no Jägermeister or stuff like that. It was B-52. So you're literally
the B-52.
You got people lined up at the bar, and you're layering a tray full of 20 B-52 shooters.
Talk about keeping your calm under stressful conditions, right?
I guess it was kind of therapeutic because you had to hold that spoon really steady to get the next layer on.
You did mention you're aging yourself. I noticed, actually, as we were getting ready for this interview, it was your birthday a couple days ago.
2 days ago.
I want to wish you a happy
Thank
birthday.
you. Let's go.
Happy birthday.
Yeah,
if it makes you feel any better, I just hit the big 4-0. Like, was that a month ago?
Yeah.
It hurts.
Whatever.
I'm just kidding. It's fine.
You're good.
It's fine.
Age is only a number here, man.
I'll tell you one thing. That's what I told, particularly some of the young ladies who I serve birthdays for, who are worried about turning 30 or turning 40. Every decade has been better. You're a teenager, who cares?
Sure. Yeah, no doubt.
You're in the 20s, you're a teenager with money.
Yeah.
30s, you start to get a little more responsible, making more money, doing more things. 40s, you know, hopefully some things are taken care of. You can spend, you go traveling more. 50s, your group of friends gets smaller, but they get to be better friends. Mm-hmm, so I'm anticipating the 60s to be even better.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a great outlook, honestly. And then you're right for the most part. I'd say every decade it does get better and better.
Well, you've been here like how many years now?
31 and a half
what
years.
What keeps you here so long? Like, this is a question that we get various different answers on, but...
Well, you know, so originally I came out here. I'll tell you the story of how I came out here in the first place. So I was bar manager and bartender at what we used to call Roadhouse back in Ontario, back in the late 80s, early 90s. Basically, it was food and drinks all day, then dinner, and then nighttime we'd have a dance floor and music.
Cool.
And I was bar manager / bartender. And then the owners embezzled all the money out of the company, and left the country.
No way.
So I had
No
some
way.
free
Classic
time in my
80s,
hands.
eh? Classic 80s.
Yeah,
move.
they moved back to Peru. You knew something was going on because back in the 80s, nobody made money on breakfast. When you started opening for breakfast, it was just a cash grab. So you knew something was going to happen.
Oh, okay.
Fair.
So I decided that I could find a job in the spring in Europe, in the Netherlands. But I came out here for 3 months first with my buddy because we had another buddy from Renfrew, Ontario, who was working out here. And showed up here 3 months, started working at the Beaujolais. And then after a week or so at the Beaujolais, setting up for this big buyout group, this guy walks in. I don't know who he was, but it's like he owned the place and taking over. And I'm like, who's the new guy? Already territorial. Been there a week.
Oh, okay,
I'm
yeah.
already territorial.
Nice.
So then I met this guy, and his name was Leo. And he became a friend, and he is the best friend I've ever had in my life. All right, so that's one of the big reasons. The mountains are beautiful, of course. I used to ski, not so much anymore because I have a bad ankle. But I met this guy. At one point, we lived, worked, and traveled together. Still actually liked each other, which
Nice.
was huge.
Yeah,
and then I was
sure.
best man at his wedding. His oldest girl is my
cool.
goddaughter.
Very
It's
cool.
the only reason I have a tattoo is because his goddaughter drew this.
Amazing.
And then his he had 2 other kids, and they all kind of referred to me as like the backup dad kind of thing. So,
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I don't have any family of my own, that's a big reason why I stayed as well.
Okay, nice. Right
Well,
on.
I guess that's a little more common. Like you come out here, you kind of find your Banff family,
Yeah.
and then you just kind of never leave. It's like, I don't know, you make such good friendships, and yeah, it's a small town, man. Once you make buddies with somebody, you kind of get
Well, I think everyone
pretty
comes out
close pretty
here
quick.
in search of something different, right? Like I'm from Ottawa myself, and for me, I can just say that's what I wanted. I wanted not Ottawa. I wanted
Same.
not to work in an office. I wanted different. And then you show up here and you realize how different it can actually be.
Well, another thing that kept me here too, growing up, because I was working outside of Ottawa, working in Ottawa just before I came out here, was finding something that I didn't have any idea that I liked or that I was missing out of my life or anything. So, growing up in Fitzroy Harbor and then in Ottawa, nobody did anything. They worked 50 weeks a year.
Yep.
Then 2 weeks of the year they went to Florida, later Cuba, or they went on a cruise. That was it.
Working for
True,
the
very
weekend.
true.
Yeah, and then I came out here, and the people in the industry at the time traveled a lot. And I worked at the Beaujolais. We closed the last week of October every year, and we opened the first week of December.
oh cool.
The owner said, you don't book holidays all year round, you get 5 weeks off.
Sick.
So I started doing that. 94, I just went home to see my dad. 95, a month in Hawaii. 96, went to Hong Kong and Thailand. 97, Belize and Mexico, and so on and so on through the years.
Amazing.
So this whole travel thing is I love, but it wasn't something I was ever exposed to. The only travel I was exposed to was flying to the Netherlands to see my dad's family. So,
Right.
and then I found out it was something I love. So having like-minded people, just outside of just my friend Leo as well, was one reason I stayed out here for sure.
No doubt.
Amazing.
Any advice you could give to somebody looking to stay here long term that maybe isn't necessarily fresh off the boat, but
Yeah.
it's kind of starting to fall in love with the place?
Yeah, for sure. There's a, you have to enjoy yourself with moderation, both in partying and what you spend on the outdoor life and world as well.
no doubt.
But one thing I did, because it's expensive to live here, there's no two ways about it. The grocery stores are 20 to 30% more than Calgary and things like that, and rent and house cost has gone up considerably. But when I started it, I bought a place with a friend, but
Very
a
cool.
large space. Neither one of us had enough money to do on our own. And this is a 10, 12-year commitment, but we bought a place together. She worked days, I worked nights. It worked out perfect. And at the end of those 10, 12 years of paying mortgage and a bit off we could, we sold the place. We both had money to buy our own. So if you have a
Cool.
friend good enough and you want to stay here and don't want to pay the rent the rest of your life, it is a commitment. It's 10 years with somebody else's life.
No doubt.
I'd say if you can find the right scenario to make that work, that is tremendous advice.
That's
honestly.
actually, I've never heard anybody that did that. That's actually super smart idea.
That's some of the best advice I think we've had on you as far as
no
staying
doubt.
long term for sure. So
Yeah,
thank
so
you.
that way
That's
you
awesome.
have two incomes, but you're not a couple. So
Well,
it's
100%. You're paying into your own future instead of like right now when we're paying rent. Unfortunately, a lot of the times you're paying someone else's
else's
bills,
mortgage.
right? That's
Right.
kind of what the saying is. So yeah, that's
And another bonus too, if you want to take advantage of it, is that when you do a situation like that, which is a business contract rather than a relationship, we got insurance that said one of us died, the other place was paid off. So you have an opportunity to pay your place off quicker if you don't like your roommate.
I was like, where's this going?
Oh my God.
Amazing.
Great loophole to know.
So Joe, being in Banff for so long, being part of the hospitality scene, what role do you think bartenders play in the social fabric of Banff?
Well, it's social factor. It's huge. Well, because it's two different sides. Of course, it's the locals you serve. So basically, you're just part of a friendship group there. Maybe even more because you get your regulars and people who come to. Whereas the tourist industry, though, what I like to do, I don't know whether this is the right answer for this particular question, but I'll get 3 or 4 couples sitting at my bar from all different places in the world.
Yep.
They don't know each other, and I start telling my stories, and then but I include them all, in a story, make contact with each and every person, and then actually get them involved so they're talking to each other. And part of that too is I tell my stories. It's years of telling stories to do this, but when you're busy and you can't just stand there, so you keep moving, and you just get this ability to leave your story off at a cliffhanger.
For sure.
And then they start talking amongst each other. So
Nice.
you've now increased your experience from going out for dinner, going into the mountains, to meeting new people here at the bar. And I've done that. Like, I've gotten so many phone numbers, contact information for people when I'm traveling. But in this situation too, you see these people who you've just introduced to each other sharing contact information at all, and I think that's
100%.
important for the social role, even for the people who do not live in this town. Whether these people have ever contacted each other outside of here, I don't know.
Well, it's
of
true
course.
because the amount of times I'll be sitting like at the brew pub, for instance, having a pint, and just shooting shit with a couple from the States, and they're like, "Oh, you get sharing stories, same thing." Like, yeah, if you're ever down our way, like, look us up. I'll shoot you a text here, so you got my number. It's like you could not do that like almost anywhere else.
No.
Like if you sat down at a bar in downtown Toronto and sat down beside somebody who's like, "Hey, bud, what's going on today?" You'd liably you're liable to get your head knocked off.
I,
You know what I mean?
I can attest to that. Like, I moved to Vancouver at one point in my life, and like, I didn't know anyone. And you go to a bar and you'd like try to strike up a conversation with a stranger, and they almost get that like, "Why are you talking to me?" kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
But,
a
like,
totally different vibe.
I think like the bartender's role in that, and I think something that Joe, you obviously are very good or a master of, I would say, is curating that atmosphere at the bar to make it a welcoming space where everyone can pipe up and
Yeah,
give their
for sure.
2 cents. You know what I mean?
And then, both with tourism and locals alike, the people who sit at your bar have a different mindset than the people who sit and dine at tables, stuff like that. So you got to
Right.
be able to play onto that and understand that,
Big time.
and realize that they're not looking for while still keeping it professional and polite and respectful. They want a different kind of service than the formal service you'd have at a table,
Right.
With the serve from the right, take from the right, and have them taste our wine. It's a whole different world at the bar.
No doubt. No doubt.
Time. You mentioned earlier that you weren't. Sorry, this is going a little off the board here. You mentioned earlier that you were a little bit shy or nervous, embarrassingly nervous. How did you develop those skills to be, obviously, like, you're a great public speaker, you're
Yes,
telling
you have.
stories, you're curating that attitude. How did you get
you
from
just-
there to here?
You decide to work in the front of the house, I guess, rather than working in the back of a hotel, which I was looking at. And then you have no choice.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
have to talk
good
to
point.
people.
Yeah, fair.
It kind of wears you down. And of course, too, I was young. Let's be realistic. When I started school, I was 18 years old and stuff like that and stuff. And then it takes a while for you to become confident as an
Right.
individual, and as you grow older, become an adult as well. So that changes. There's still a lot of situations where I'm shy and uncomfortable as well, but it's not like back then. It was embarrassing.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was pretty quiet in high school too. Like, I was a pretty big nerd. I just went to art class, went to music class, skipped all the rest of them, just went home. Like, that's pretty much it.
Well, I remember saying, I mentioned I was so shy I would stutter till I talked to a girl who was 17. And there was this girl, Leslie, I won't give her whole name, but we kind of liked her. We'd play shinny, pick up hockey and things like that. And she wasn't allowed to go into the hut, the skating rink. And everybody doesn't know, all those little towns had wooden huts with a wood burning stove where you change your
Oh, okay,
skates
yep.
and got ready to play hockey. So she wasn't allowed in there because there was boys in there. Boys are bad. So I used to skate around with her, stay out. And then she asked me to come over and watch movies, her and with a couple other friends, Wayne, and I can't remember Wayne's girlfriend's name anymore. But they go over, and then they went to, of course, to the rental place and rent movies. That was the thing.
Yeah.
And then went home, watched them. To this day, I don't remember what movies we watched because I spent the whole 2 movies going, gotta ask her out. Gotta ask her for a kiss. Gotta do it. Gotta
Yeah.
do it. So we go out. She walks me to the door at the end, and so I got up the nerve finally. So she said, can I have a good night kiss? And then she looks at me. She's going to ask me something first. What? Okay, I just spent 4 hours trying to say this. You got to ask me something. What seemed like a lifetime later was probably just a minute going, oh, will you go out with me? She goes, yes, now I can give you a kiss.
Nice.
I had to keep in mind that she comes from a conservative family.
Right.
So
right.
she kind of forced you into that.
Exactly.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, and 4 years of my life spent with her high school sweetheart.
Oh, cool.
Wild.
Very cool.
And here you are today. How time flies.
No doubt.
So you've been banned for a long time, as we've been talking about. Is there a particular event or holiday that you maybe look forward to attending, or that you feel like goes off? I feel like we're just getting busier and busier in the town of Banff.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Love Christmas.
Yeah.
For many, many years, I wasn't a big whole Christmas fan. I'd lost my mother when I was a teenager, so that whole family Christmas vibe wasn't the same. And then like 15, 20 years ago, started loving Christmas again.
Nice.
You know, the decorations around town, the way the hotel is decorated.
Yeah, it's hard
You
to not
know,
get in the spirit.
And honestly, even the guests, like anyone that's in town Christmas time, like it's hard to run into someone that's in a bad mood or having a bad day Christmas time. Like this place does kind of transform.
Back in the days when I was still in Arundel, I used to have what I used to call my orphan's Christmas.
yeah,
So there's a lot.
everybody does that. Yeah.
So we do so about a few weeks before Christmas, because we don't have Christmas off, of course. I'd take. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was invited 5 girls, and because I had 6 seats in my house, and we'd take them out 2 weeks before Christmas time. And first year about to get a Christmas tree in Kananaskis, they don't like that. They're not into it at all.
No.
So then I buy a Christmas tree after, and we come over, we do a decorating prog, bake cookies, things like that. And then around Christmas, I'd have the same 5 over, and I do the whole Christmas spread with turkey and everything like that.
Smart.
Because I love to cook.
Nice.
Beautiful.
I love to cook too. Sometimes though, I just don't want to do it anymore. You know how it goes.
I think it's easy to get like over it, especially because that is kind of a really busy time of the year. So I think
Yeah.
people are sometimes burnt out or not wanting to be super social after working social jobs. But no, there's something special around that time. I think I find like kind of myself going through a similar pattern as you. Like in my 20s, where I was really partying and no family here, you're almost kind of like spiteful of the people that get to come here and enjoy themselves
fair
while you
enough.
have to work.
Yeah, good point.
But now it's like, 15 years later, you kind of get used to it and like, whatever, like I'll have a good day at work and then I'll go have a good day at home, or vice versa. Like you're not working the whole day. Like you usually have only a 6 or 7 hour work shift. So anyways, yeah, Christmas, what an amazing time. If you aren't ever trying to come to Banff for Christmas time, book ahead. Like,
Oh yeah, like a year. The book ahead by like a year. Yeah.
That would probably be like the primest time to come.
So random question,
'Kay.
Because this happens all the time. I'm sure I hear it even sitting at the bar. What's your go-to drink when someone says "surprise me"?
When somebody says surprise me in my bar, I usually I have one or two things. I have to read the person, and I'm not gonna lie to you. There is a gender part of that aspect as well. What kind of drinks they like, but
for sure.
I would usually do one of my 2 signature drinks, current signature drinks. It's my caramelized pineapple margarita.
Oh,
With my homemade caramelized pineapple puree, and I rim it with Lee Hing powder from Hawaii, which is salted dried plum. It's the first
Okay.
cocktail I
That
ever
sounds
created
good.
based on the flavor of the rim first and the drink afterwards, rather than rimming out. And then otherwise, if they're not into the fruitier drinks and stuff like that, it's I do my Canadian maple old fashioned, because I make my own bitters now. So the maple pecan bitters and that.
Oh,
wow.
And once I've convinced them that maple doesn't make it really sweet, and they try it, they generally like it.
Amazing.
I could see that though, because like if you buy over the counter like maple with like you go buy like Sortilege, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
The
100%.
the Prestige is pretty good. Like the 7 years is pretty good, but yeah, I guess people are just like, oh, you're just gonna slam a bunch of maple syrup in it. It's like no. Hold on. Yeah.
Yep.
There's subtleties to using sugar and sweetness, right? Like
sure
I
there
worked a bar that was kind of cocktail focused for a while, and you kind of learn that when you're making drinks, it's the same thing as cooking food. Like
100%.
you
Oh,
want to
yeah.
have the flavors worked off each other, whether
Okay.
it's salty, bitter, sweet, acidity, even fat. Like I've made cocktails that have fat in it sometimes. You have so it's just finding which combinations of those work, and then either adding or subtracting equal parts of each to making something that is palatable, right?
Yes, for sure.
It's almost like math at a certain point. Like
Kind of like I think
like music.
it's
Music
almost
gets
like
to be
baking.
like
Like I find alcohol is like a little. I don't know. I always see like mixed drinks is like everything's usually pretty measured, whereas like cooking sometimes you just salt and pepper. Like after a while, you just know like how much salt in there is going to be enough.
True.
It's crazy. Like you don't think about it until you like just go grab a scoop of salt and you just pour it in a pot of whatever you're cooking, and you're like, nailed it. That's good, man.
true.
You
There
just-
is a more like freestyle aspect
Yeah.
to it in that sense. What's the craziest thing that you've ever seen during a shift, or maybe like one of your wild stories you'd like to tell
Well,
us?
during a shift, so not so much like crazy here in Banff, I guess, but it's things that happen. Remember years ago?
Well, I think maybe the Barbary Coast would got a little crazy.
It would, yeah, yeah. The back dining room would be closed. I remember one day the night cleaner coming up and going, "It's in the girls' washroom in the back dining room, which was closed all night." He goes, "There's a big line of white powder sitting on the counter. I don't know what to do." And one of the other bartenders who mentioned his name goes, "What'd you do with it?" He goes,
give it a
I wiped
smell."
it up. He goes, "Oh, dude, no."
Wiped it
Because
up.
I've heard stories of the Barbary Coast having
Where was Barbary Coast?
Elkin
Elkin
Oarsman.
Oarsman.
Oh, okay.
But I've heard stories of windows being covered at the Barbary Coast and having certain types of entertainment coming in
Yeah,
that is not allowed in the
occasionally,
national park.
Yeah, occasionally that did happen. Not very often though, just for special and not not on a regular basis.
Oh God, I've seen people order some wild shit. What is, in your opinion, like the absolute worst drink you've ever had to make somebody?
I still think, because I hate it, is Dirty Mother.
What's that?
Dirty Mother is it was a few different versions, but the original old version, and basically it's a white Russian made with tequila.
Oh,
And I don't know, for some reason that just
yeah, it's wild.
tequila and milk. This is just something that I've never forgotten. After X amount of years in this business, it's just the whole concept to me is just nasty.
I saw a dude once I was sitting at a brew pub. This guy comes up to the bar, like shooting the shit with the bartender, and the guy goes, "Can I get what the hell was it? Milk, grenadine, and gin in
That's
a tall
called
glass,
something.
please."
I
I was
forget.
Pink
like,
lady.
Oh,
I was like, "What the?" And he drank like 6 of them. I was like, "You just drank 6 ounces of liquor with like 6 glasses of milk? That can't be good for you."
you
Like
can't account for people's
Oh,
taste, man. It's wild.
the palates out there, man, are just out of control sometimes.
I heard rumors. This is before, like, from when I worked at the pump, but someone who's going around town drinking Jaeger Caesars at one point,
I've made those,
which
I've had
is
people
pretty
ask
wild.
me.
Jaeger Caesars?
Jaeger Caesar.
Yeah, made it quite a few times.
Yeah, I thought it'd be weird, but hey, you never know. I saw someone. I
I mean-
encountered someone in the wild drinking a Jaeger tonic the other day.
What?
Yeah, which they were like, yeah, it's great, and it actually looked almost orange, like you put bitters
Like
in
a
it.
spritz? Like,
It was wild,
Almost like an Aperol spritz or
yeah,
something?
like a little bit of orange in there, and it's perfect. I'm like, wow, like I used to be
Cointreau
a Jaeger
Jaeger,
guy.
Cointreau Jaeger and some soda. That's a new one.
I've once had a bar tab with 58 Jaegers on it.
But your own bar tab?
Yes. If you could resurrect one bar or restaurant that's gone from Banff, what would it be and why?
Well, probably most people watching this would never have heard of this bar. There used to be a bar called Side Street.
Side Street.
Side
Is that
Street.
where the liquor store is?
No, it's
Or is that
up,
named?
up here, kind of it's at the very end of Banff Avenue, just before you get to the IGA.
Okay.
So it was Side Street, and it was connected to Rundle Restaurant, which was a Chinese restaurant. I believe her name was Jeannie Chang, who owned it. But the Side Street was just a locals place, right?
Oh, okay.
It was back
Cool.
And I remember old bartenders like Wacko and people that used to work there. And the owner's husband, he was really short, so he drank rye. So they put the rye on a top shelf, and you see him always in there trying to get it and jump at it. When you go in there, you had pinball games in the back. I love pinball. And
Nice.
then there was a laundromat right on Main Street. So you go do laundry, and then you drink at the bar. Like a lot of times.
Oh, okay,
For sure. A lot of times I go back, and my big zip bag of laundry is still sitting underneath the table where I left it the night before.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I've done that one.
I feel like I would do that same thing. I would put laundry in, go to the pump and tap, never finish my laundry, or have to do it again the next
But the
day.
paddock,
worst.
man. The paddock was a legend too.
Paddock was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool. Little rolling chairs.
Yeah.
And,
Oh man, you fall asleep in those bad boys, those big leather.
two
arms.
busiest days of the year. They were, for many, many years, the place to go on Halloween.
Yep.
Huge prizes, things like that, big party, and New Year's Eve. And other times it was just a quieter place to drink.
I remember, I think my first year in town, I went to the paddock for Halloween, their busiest night of the year, and I saw Mark Carroll coming in. He could barely fit in through the door with his costume. I forget what it was that year, but he used to always go above and beyond and like create these insanely huge costumes. But yeah, big shout out to the paddock, man. I say bring it back. Nothing else will work there.
Well, speaking of old bars, and like bringing stuff back, how do you feel bar scenes changed, like from the '90s to the 2000s to kind of where it's at today?
Well, I think it's changed a lot for the better. Just to maybe bar scene, including like bars that like I work in now with restaurants, the whole culture has changed. When I started doing the 80s, it was 70s was kind of what they called the tiki era. Was all about the garnishes, fancy garnish.
yeah.
Didn't have to be Hawaiian, and they just
the
was called
umbrellas
tiki.
and-
Exactly. Then the 80s was a sugar era. Just sweet drinks. It was nasty.
Oh, yeah.
And then, I went to some bars I went into. It was a wall. It looked like a laundromat. It was a wall of slush machines. So you could have nasty
Oh,
sugar and all
right.
different
Yep.
kinds
Oh,
of
my
flavors.
God.
Yeah.
And then developing over the last 20, 25 years, cocktail culture coming back. And then now people go out. The whole dining experience includes different kinds of cocktails. And part of that, too, was encouraging bartenders or giving them the leave to create cocktails as well. Some are good, some are bad.
Yep.
But again, opened up a lot of doors for a lot more cocktails to be available in the world. If you're going to spend a lot of time having somebody come out for a dinner, 2, 3, sometimes 6-course dinner, they should have the opportunity to have 2, 3, 6 courses of different kinds of cocktails if they so desire as well, with different flavors.
True.
So right now, I'm working back and creating bitters again too. Like before the Prohibition, there was 100 different companies that make bitters in the world. After Prohibition and up to about 20, 25 years, there was 2 left.
Wild.
Wow.
So that's all
like
coming back
Peychaud
as
and
well.
Angostura.
Yeah,
or what?
Angostura.
Yeah, Angostura, and then what's that other one there?
Peychaud?
Peychaud.
Yeah.
We're pretty much the only 2 left.
Wow.
Now there's a whole bunch of them.
Well,
Yeah.
you're seeing that resurgence, like the craft, like you said, people
Oh, big
making
time.
their own stuff. And digging back into like old timey cocktails, right? Like Paper Planes making a huge resurgence.
Oh,
People
yeah.
doing like versions of the original daiquiri, which a lot of people don't know isn't a blended drink,
Yep.
right?
Crazy.
Just cool to see. And like the creativity aspect was kind of what got me into the whole cocktail world. And even through getting sober, I wanted to like see if I could still do it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Could I still create good cocktails without tasting them? Because that was obviously a big part of it. A big part of why I enjoyed bartending was tasting, of course.
You just do like the straw test or what?
Yeah, just a little straw test. Like I've worked in some bars that were like, you do not send a cocktail out without at least tasting it a little bit first. Like if you
Makes
wouldn't
sense.
drink it, don't send it out.
Makes sense.
Which obviously can be a slippery slope as well, depending on where you're working, who you're working for.
No doubt.
But yeah, the cocktail resurgence is like alive and strong. So
Yeah.
now, we got brands like Drink Shaft doing great canned cocktails with their other drink highlights and their L cocktails and all that stuff. So
No doubt.
Another thing about the change too that, like go back to the 80s and even 90s, things like that. There was a lot of just feeding people booze so they fall down and get sick and stuff like that.
True. Yeah,
And not
yeah.
only was it dangerous and illegal and stuff like that, it kind of destroyed the image or the scene, the vibe, the feeling of the place you are. The people are now more comfortable cutting people off than they used to be.
Oh, for sure.
And
Oh,
stuff
big
like
time.
that. It was uncomfortable. People were all angry at you. But that drunk guy at the bar falling down was just destroyed the whole vibe. I think that now that we've been able to do that better, accept it better, deal with it better, and stuff like that. I think it's made the whole drinking season it might seem like a small thing, but it changed the whole vibe and the comfort zone at your bar.
I think that's a huge thing. And again, I think
doubt.
a lot of that comes with the advancement of technology and having cell phones, right?
Yeah.
Like pre-cell phone era in bars was way more debaucherous than it is now.
Oh, big time.
Even-
Like now you fuck up and you're on 20 different videos online. Before you're just like, did I get kicked out of the bar last night?
No one wants to be that guy, right? Like crazy. I remember there's even one instance where I got too drunk down at the rec grounds. And sure enough, a couple of days later, picture shows up and I'm passed out. And I'm covered like hot sauce and potato chips and like hot dogs on my face and dicks drawn on me and stuff. Like it was bad.
Yep.
So I can only imagine pre-cell phone era.
Yeah.
No doubt.
A little bit more gnarly. Have you ever waited on any celebrities that you could tell us about or that you would want to tell us about?
Yeah, I have. There's some that, but well, let's say the first one. And I didn't really wait. I was general manager of the Maple Leaf, but Melissa Joan Hart used to come in all the time because she was filming a
cool.
movie in Calgary.
And the song that you chose.
Hey,
It was, never mind. Wrong person.
okay, and she's a gem. She was awesome. And then I went up to her as general manager, sitting at a table with her child and her mother. And I go, so Melissa, if any of my staff do this, they're fired. Right off the bat, I'll tell you that. But my goddaughter found her downstairs drawing pictures of Salem, the cat from
From Sabrina.
from Sabrina Teenage Witch.
Yeah.
It would be okay if they brought it up and gave it to you. If you say no, I said, I completely understand. She goes, no, I'll go down and see them. So we went down, sat with the two kids for like just a few minutes, coloring this cat with them,
so cool.
which is pretty. But another person who was bang on nice was Reba McEntire.
Reba.
Wow.
I have very rarely have I met a person that nice in my life.
That's hospitality.
That's so good that her persona matches the character.
Yeah.
Like, because if she was a bitch, like,
She's sitting at the Beaujolais with her husband. Of course, everybody around her knows what it. It's got to be tough, right? Sometimes you want to have some private time with your partner,
100%.
Right?
But she was so gracious to the people around her who were asking her and talking to her and things like that. Burt Reynolds was like one of the funniest guys I ever saw in my life. He just kept telling stories and stories. Sitting when they were filming Mystery Alaska in a Canmore. He was here with like Russell Crowe and Call Meany and all that stuff. He was just kept talking. He talked a mile a minute. He was awesome. Alec Baldwin sitting at my bar. He doesn't want to talk to you.
nah.
He's stuck in his phone. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. I can see that.
And then one I thought guy was really cool. A lot of people might not know who he is, but there's a gentleman named Kurtwood Smith. So he was the bad guy in the first RoboCop, and he played the father on That 70s Show.
Oh, right. Yeah, crazy.
So,
Crazy.
So we're filming. I was an extra in the film. Last of the Dogmen filmed around Kananaskis and up by the falls.
Oh, that's sick.
Falls. And Barbara Hershey, him, Tom Berenger. By the way, being an extra in a movie sucks.
I could only imagine.
Strapped to a stretcher for hours on end with fake blood on my face, and then lift me over a railing, and the people lift me over wearing paramedics, get banging my head into the railing. But then we sit down for lunch, and all the actors, the regular paid people, are sitting in a tent, and they all have steak and things like that for lunch, and us extras have to sit out in the drizzle rain and we're having beans and wieners.
Sandwich table.
Kurtwood Smith comes over, and he's going, what are you guys eating here? Beans and wieners and that. And he was upset that we were getting basically served slop compared to them.
Nice.
He sat down with us and had beans and wieners with us, and the next day everybody got steaks.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. What a legend.
Yeah.
So,
Good for him.
well, if you had to sum it up, what's like one big secret to being a bartender that like you can't learn from a book or from the internet? Just something that you it's just you can't teach without being there.
No, yeah, it's the biggest thing is the social aspect, because it makes you more money. At the end of the day, you're here to make a living. And if you're just a vending machine, give the drink and go stand in the corner on your phone until someone needs a drink again, you're doing the wrong thing. They sit here and talking to people and connecting, like I said, connecting people who don't know each other, to conversations. You're about providing experience to people, like maybe more so here in a tourist town. I don't know if that's true. I wouldn't think differently anywhere else, though. And then just be part of whatever reason they're being here, whether it's their birthday or whether it's an anniversary, whether they're just on vacation, whether it's a work trip. Just being part of that rather than just being a vending machine is so important. It's going to make you so much more money. But then for me, everybody asks me, what's the one key rule to being a good bartender? And for me, it's always the same thing. Put the shit back where you found it.
100%.
If I spin around
Big
to get
time.
a bottle of Grey Goose, because I'm making somebody wants a martini and a Grey Goose, and it's over there by the coffee machine because somebody used it over there a while ago. It's like, come on, dude.
Same thing in the kitchen, man. You turn around and grab something that ain't there, you look like a jackass.
Let me tell you, not only all good bartenders, all bartenders, period, hate a sloppy bartender.
Oh, yeah.
Put your shit away. Wipe up your mess if it's there. I don't want to be slipping, getting my hands in your old juice. Yeah. Like, we're trying to, we're trying to not only provide a service, but put on a show. Like, put it away. It's meant to look clean. The cleaner it looks, the better it's visually appealing to your guests, right?
Sure.
Like,
it's
all part of it.
I hate too much stuff on my bar. I have my mats and some bitters and things like that. I don't even like that much because I like the bar to be clean. There's more room for the guests and things like that. But sometimes you have to be. When you start getting stuff built up everywhere, and your back bar has become a storage area, it's just terrible.
Yeah.
I worked one bar in Australia that was pretty cool. The owner's philosophy was your back will never be turned to the guests unless you're grabbing a bottle that isn't on the rail. So everything that you're doing, whether you're cutting or garnishing or whatever, it's all done so that the guests can see it. And that was kind of like a
smart,
like a ding moment in my head. I was like, this guy's onto something. Like, people want to see that show now. They want to talk to you, know what's going into their cocktail as you're preparing it. Like,
Oh,
And trust me, that'll make you some money.
I've worked in open kitchen, same thing, man.
100%.
People will bring their kids right up to the line while you're doing a deglaze and throwing a huge fireball in the air. Like, people like to see what's going on. Like,
For sure they do.
You don't get to see that everywhere. Right?
No.
So.
And because the whole goes back to, when you have to put the pour spouts in a bottle a certain way. So when you're pouring drinks, the label of the bottle is showing towards the customer.
Right.
It goes back to something as basic as that, and it's just progressed from there.
I agree.
Wow.
I agree.
So have you ever been have you ever been tipped with anything else besides money?
Oh yeah. See stories you can't tell. Once I got tipped with 3 tickets for Supertramp.
Oh,
okay.
dude,
That's a tip.
back in the late
that's a
80s.
tip.
Yeah, nice.
And I remember I took my friends Nadia and Sherry, and both beautiful, beautiful girls. And Sherry was the stereotypical late 80s blonde. She was petite, long hair, curls and stuff, frosted tips everywhere.
Oh, yeah, the frosted tip.
So we go to the concert, and she's wearing a skin-tight, short denim dress, acid wash.
Oh, of course.
And then wear a leather jacket over. We go up to security, and there's this pimply-faced little kid, God bless his cotton socks, and he's making us all check for her jacket. So he told her she has to open her jacket. I'm not sure where he thought she was hiding anything, but she couldn't get the zipper open, pulling on it, and then finally she just grabs the jacket and rips it open, and the poor kid's standing there going, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Nice.
Oh, my God.
And one time I got tipped use of a brand new top of the line BMW for a date. Take a girl first date. One of the regular customers let me use his car.
That's
I've
awesome.
heard of this from not only yourself, but a couple like Banff serving and bartending alumni of being tipped vehicles or like leases on vehicles and stuff. Like, that is
sweet.
great.
That's sweet.
I still have yet to get it. So
What's the dumbest reason you ever had to cut anybody off for? Dumbest or funniest? Like,
Dumbest, funniest, maybe a combination of both.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I wasn't actually bartending at this time. Again, I was general manager of the Maple Leaf. There was another bartender in town. He was at the bar visiting my bartender, a good friend of mine, a guy I adore, Jay Hay. I look down from downstairs, and the first thing that goes through my head, son of a bitch. So this other bartender in town, he's no longer bartending here. Go down, he's got some American customers at the bar. He's got his pants down at the bar.
What?
And he's got a snifter with a Zambuca. He lights it on fire, and he sticks it to his ass. So that the fire goes out, of course, there's no oxygen, but it sucks the brandy snifter to his butt, and he's sitting there showing these American tourists.
my
What is it?
God.
So I go downstairs and go, Jay, hey, tell so-and-so he's got to go, man. We're in the middle of the dining room, dude.
wow, yeah,
Okay.
that is definitely a good cutoff story there.
Yeah, it's like, maybe you don't have any more of those, bud. Like, pouring you
It was
on
his
Zambuca.
birthday. I found out later. And he tells the story all the time whenever he's back in town. But
Oh, my
I've
God.
been cut off for much less. Joe, so looking back on your career so far, what would you say you're most proud of?
I was thinking about this last night. I'm definitely most proud of the connections and the friends I have built. That's personal. Maybe sounds kind of cheesy, but it is true. The relationship I built with my best friend and his kids and stuff like that is I built a whole new family, and the fact that I respect them and they respect me, I'm proud of that. But in the business self as well, I'm proud of the fact that I got into this, although this whole cocktail culture, it's gone to places I'm not interested in going, but getting involved in it when it started, because I have a different philosophy. I create cocktails I know my guests want, because I've been here so long, I understand the demographic of my clientele. And then with the cocktails I've created, I'm very proud of that. My margarita, my old fashioned, my things like that. The articles that have made it to different magazines and TV. The fact that when a chef from India was here 10, 12 years ago and filmed me making him cocktails and it was on a cookie show, it might be maybe sound a little arrogant or egotistical, but I'm proud that I've built my name to a point where people will come to me for things like that.
100%.
Not the actual thing of it happening and being on this TV show, but the fact that I've earned the respect that people will ask me to do that.
And I think you should be proud of that.
Yeah, for sure. I would be.
Like, not only Natalie, everyone that works at the Fairmont, like, we posted this, Joe Ruhland's coming on the show, and people were thrilled to come on and hear you talk and see what you had to say. So,
It was blowing up
not
there.
only I think you've made yourself a part, you've made yourself a part of Banff in that sense. So we kind of definitely wanted to have you on to highlight that. So
I appreciate being on. It was nice to be invited.
it's definitely something to be proud of for sure. When you do finally decide to hang up your bar blade and your shaker, what's going to be the plan
Well,
for
that's
Joe?
kind of a bit of a funny too, because my friends say I'll never retire.
Fair.
So originally I was going to retire when I was 60. Well, that's 363 days away. And but I just picked that number out of the air.
Yeah.
It meant nothing.
Yeah.
So now I've decided, because I'm not going to be too young to retire. Like it's amazing. When I was 20, I thought 60 be old, and I'm just decided at 60. I don't feel old at all in any way,
Right,
shape, or
right.
form. I will admit that working in this industry keeps you young, both mentally and physically.
Yeah.
But so now I've changed the date to 64. So we'll see what happens there.
That's
And
still a year early.
The reason I picked 64 is because I'll be at the hotel for 20 years, and we get a super big deal for staying at other Fairmonts, particularly in North America, at a discounted rate.
Yeah.
And after 20 years at the hotel, I believe, unless they change it back to 25, then I'm screwed. But after 20 years, you get to keep that deal the rest of your life.
Amazing.
Wow.
So I'm just looking for
That's cool.
reasons to like. But when I do finally retire, I will just go sit. I don't know if it'll work. My hobby is I like to restore vintage Vespa scooters.
Very cool.
So I haven't
Very
done a
cool.
lot of them, but a few. I do more when I retire. But then again, where goes the social aspect? When you're talking to a bike engine, it doesn't talk back to you a lot.
Yeah.
It listens really well.
Very true.
I like to restore guitars, and same thing. They don't really talk back unless you really fuck something up.
Yeah.
Then you
Honestly,
know.
that's one thing that I loved about the hospitality industry, whether it be bartending, serving, or like anything front of house, is that I can get paid to go be part of that social experience,
Yeah.
right?
Right,
Like
right.
I can go hang out. Like when I was bartending, like, hey man, I get to go hang out at the pump and tap where I'm going to be anyways for 5
Yeah,
hours
you're
and
gonna
get
hang
paid.
out with the
Like,
homies all day, anyways.
you know
yeah.
what I mean? So I think, yeah, it's the social aspect of it definitely keeps you young and keeps you vibrant in that sense. And
And I will fully admit I don't drink anywhere near as much as I used to. I'll go a month without having a drink, whatever. But then at birthdays, of course, I still drink. But that whole just sitting down at the bar, particularly the Rose and Crown, which is my local watering hole.
Love it.
You don't even have to order. They just put it up as
Yeah.
soon as you get there.
Yeah, I know. It
You
makes
know,
it
it's
makes it
very
hard to say
nice.
no, and they're like, "Here you go." It's like, oh, I guess I'll have another one.
Like the bartender, ding ding there. He always goes, "All right, Joe, combo number one, cocaine Jägermeister."
love it.
Oh yeah.
Big shout out to Ding Ding from the Paddock days. He knows what we're
damn.
talking about. Right on. That's all we got for interview questions. Let's move on to a little word from our sponsors here. We're going to check in with Drink Shaft. I might crack one myself. This hot coffee's getting a little lame for me.
Let's go.
This episode is brought to you by the Non-Alc Shaft. If you're looking for a clean energy drink that's gluten-free, vegan, naturally caffeinated with real coffee, perfect for the quick pick-me-up middle of the afternoon, or heck, in the morning when you're on the way to the hill, be sure to check out the beautiful black non-alc can sold as singles or as 4-packs down at Townhouse Liquor. I know my fridge is stocked up. We have a couple other people we want to mention. You just want to pull up the first slide that we have in the purple there.
Yeah.
All right, so summer's here. Her Knowing, my partner Natalie, is back with Summer Glow. If you didn't already know, Natalie from Her Knowing is one of Banff's premier holistic practitioners. She's got a bunch of new offerings for this summer that can fit any budget. So if you're looking for some spiritual healing and relaxation, go check out Her Knowing. Also, don't forget to go give her a follow on Instagram. You can find her at Her Knowing.
Let's go.
All right, before we get to the post, we got one more little read. We got to give a big shout out to our friends over at the Rose and Crown. While you're in Banff, make sure to swing by the Rose and Crown, just like Joe does. They've got live music every night of the week, 364 days a year. Head up to their rooftop patio for stunning views, grab a pint, and enjoy a bite to eat. They got daily food and drink specials. It's always a good time to stop by.
Oh, yeah.
Don't miss their new summer menu, perfect up on that patio for this summer season.
Let's go. I was up there the other day.
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah.
sick, man. Love
Oh,
the
yeah.
Rose and Crown. Love everybody that works there. Big shout out. We can't do this without your support, so thank you so much. We have thought this week, since we've been kind of harping on negative posts and stuff, it's kind of what we do. We kind of find funny, dumb stuff. The first one's actually a positive one. So positive parking or maybe driving. This is one of our
I saw
previous
this.
guests that posted this.
This was good. This
He
was
actually
good.
had some nice things to say on Overheard. So Matt, can you read this one out for us?
Maybe.
Or is it too far?
It's
I
too-
got it.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up on my phone here.
Okay,
Just
it
one
says,
moment.
interrupting the cesspool of grievances to spotlight a nice little piece of driving I saw this night, or last night. I was driving alongside the bridge when I noticed the wave of gutter/fluids the Rome bus launched at the sidewalk. I watched my rearview mirror in horror as the gray escape seemed to be timed perfectly to impact the puddle. right as this innocent couple were in the splatter zone. To my surprise, the escape deliberately slowed down, changed lanes, avoiding the puddle. Nods to you for not ruining this guy's night.
So it goes on to read that Brad Marchand had already done that. It was the night that Edmonton lost. Okay,
right.
So this guy's walking home from the bar from an Edmonton loss in his Edmonton jersey, clearly probably not having a good time.
No.
And the car, instead of splashing him, swerves out of the way to save him from an extra humiliating evening. So yeah, I don't know. I think people are quick to post negative stuff on Overheard. It's nice to mix it up and have some positives. So
No doubt.
big shout out to you, big dog.
This next driving one's pretty creative, though not necessarily the nicest. In case you're wondering, the parking lot at the train station is full. So is the path that leads to Squirrel and Cougar Streets. Somebody just pulled up on the path there and just said, fuck it.
Now back to our negative stuff. What an idiot. All right. So this was during the Banff Marathon. I took a picture that wasn't this good. Mine was kind of from a different angle, but the whole parking lot was full. Banff Marathon. The town is fucking bursting at the seams.
Too good.
And this person must have thought that the walkway was a suitable place to park their Toyota Prius. It was a rental, so we all know.
Par for the course.
You know,
if you
par
see
for the
that
course.
single digit at the beginning of the license plate, you know automatically, just look the fuck out. They might run you over.
O dash, L dash, anything dash.
Yeah.
Clearly a rental. I don't know. Is that not a suitable place to park?
You got to leave it somewhere, man.
You got to do what you got to do, man. Like, you could have parked up on the side there, right by that fence.
You gotta love the ingenuity. Moving
my
on,
God.
our next one here is a bit of a read. So I think this is one of the cab drivers, the way it reads. So it goes, so during the last G7, 3 regular but stiff-looking people come out of the Rosencrown and get into my taxi. Where to, I ask. They say the Rimrock Hotel. Okay, I replied, and after a slight pause, I inquired, where are you from? They reply, Saskatchewan. Oh, he says, so you're RCMP. Their cover was fully blown. The lady said to the young man in the front, maybe you should grow your hair. He explained that it wouldn't matter and that kind of he figured it out based on where they were from and kind of how they looked.
That's awesome.
Just heads up, there's a ton of cops in town right now. All the security
there's like
personnel.
Secret Service and crazy stuff around. Like,
So like if you see someone that's looking like a cop right now, if you're up to no good, they're probably a cop.
dude, yesterday alone, we went down to the protest, saw 2 F-18s. On the way back from getting a couple beers, saw an F-22. We
Crazy.
saw that Huey flying over, or a Black Hawk flying over. It's like,
We did
It's
have a
crazy
chat
right
with some of the cops that were doing security down at the protest zone, and they're actually so chill. We're just like, yeah, we were doing some interviews, like cool. On the way out, they're like, we asked them if they wanted to talk.
Yeah.
They're like, no, like we can go up, like you can go up to the media center and you can like talk to our RCMP people there. But I didn't get accredited, probably due to my history, we'll say. So I was saying to them that like I only got a DUI. Like what I did is arguably less bad than what some of the G7 representatives have done, and they absolutely love that joke. So big shout out to them.
They're cracking up pretty good there. It was good. All right, looks like we got a bear sighting. Holy, where was this?
Yeah, this is crazy. This was posted to Bow Valley Network. Someone in the comments said it was Blackstone. So I don't know if Blackstone is a business or like a set of buildings, but this video was taken through this person's window of their home.
That's
So,
just a young boy, too.
Yeah, just a little tiny bear, I guess, checking out the neighborhood, looking for some snacks.
I still wouldn't go out and touch it.
No,
hell no.
Again, this like there is a window in between this shot, right? So they're standing inside. The bear is outside in their yard. Comments were quick to say, still too close for comfort. Still maybe don't be up in the window because you're like habituating the bear to being close to humans. We can all, say what we want, but I just thought it was a cute picture.
If that thing wanted through that window, I'm sure it could get in.
Yeah. 100%.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
big time. All right, what do we got here, Dan?
Okay, this one here is very, very funny. Kevin Milliken does not like anonymous post. His post goes to read, I do not like anonymous on Bow Valley Network. I think admin should not be allowed anonymous discussion. Then the first comment is when Princess doesn't get her way and a meme of a lady with a pouty face. Normally when we feature people's posts, even our prior guests, we like shelter their identities. We blank their name, we blank their pictures.
Right.
But Kevin, since you don't like anonymous, I just thought it was funny. And
Thanks
then
for the post, Kev.
the comments were so funny. It was just people commenting from anonymous, being like, "Shut up, man," whatever. Like, if you want a good laugh, go read those comments.
You had to know that was going to happen. Maybe
yeah.
he was just trying to stir the pot.
Yeah, big
in which
shout
case
out.
I like it even more.
Big shout out. Thanks for the hilarity, brother.
Alrighty.
We got another Hang Time flea market coming up June 23rd. Our friends at Hang Time are doing another one at the Fenlands. 25 vendors, DJs. It's $5 entry. If you're over 60 and under 16 or something, you get in for free.
Cool.
It's a whole vibe, man. Go
Nice.
down there, get some sweet vintage clothes, help the planet.
I just
help
saw a
your
post
pocket.
about the last one. They said it was awesome. Went well. It looks like they did at Rosencrown from what I saw.
Hell
But yeah, let's go. Get out there and support some local homies.
Big shout out.
All right, here we go. This is Air Force One.
We talked about it. Again, just constant flyovers. I'm
I
sure
can
you've
almost
heard it.
guarantee it because he was leaving yesterday.
Yeah, I heard. Leaving
Donnie,
early.
Donnie left early, and they don't fly that thing anywhere without an F-18 escort. So
Yeah, so
yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, you can't see the colors on it; it's a little far out, but it seems to me like Air Force One and F-18.
Yeah, I would say.
could potentially be tons of air traffic. I'm sure it'll be over tomorrow. I think today's the last day of the conference. We
Is
might
it?
head
Okay.
down to the protest zone in a bit and see what's popping over there. If you haven't checked it out yet, we got a little short about our day one at the protest zone. We got to talk to a bunch of great people out there telling us their causes, why they're out there mobilized, protesting the leaders of the G7. So go
No
check
doubt.
it out. It is on YouTube. It'll be out on our other platforms later today.
Let's go. Let's go.
And that's all the time we have for today.
No doubt. That
Thank you
went
so
quick.
much for joining us. I know,
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that was awesome.
these hours are flying by. If it's your first time joining us, don't forget to like and subscribe. I know Joe liked and subscribed to us recently, so if you want to be like Joe, as we all would, go and subscribe to our YouTube
No
channel.
doubt.
Thanks to the listeners for tuning in. Thanks you to our sponsors, to Drink Shaft, to Her Knowing, to the Rose and Crown. Big thanks to Joe for coming in and sharing
Thank you.
sharing your
doubt.
insights
Absolute
with us.
legend.
And that's all we have for today. And like every week, see
you
you
next
next Tuesday. Peace.